Welcome to We the People, a new birth of freedom. It's a beautiful, sunny Saturday morning here in Ohio. The humidity has finally dropped off, so it's comfortable, and I really appreciate that. And I welcome you. I trust that you're sharing these videos with everyone that you can. We want to get the message of life, liberty, justice, truth, the pursuit of happiness, in the context of true freedom, out to everyone that we can. It's going to be a short video, but I want to preface it by saying you can trust the laws of nature and nature's God. We may not always understand the intricacies of those laws, but you can trust them. They're constant. However, on the other hand, you cannot trust the government in any way, shape, or form. That doesn't mean we don't need a government. We do. We need elected officials. But never trust the government. Never trust elected officials. There's something about power and money that begins to distort their vision of reality and truth. As the old adage says, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And sometimes it doesn't even take absolute power. Sometimes it just takes a little teaspoon of power for some people and they go haywire. So I'm not an anarchist in any way, shape, or form. I can respect government as long as they're respectful, as long as they conduct themselves in a respectful manner. But as we can see, for the most part, it's very difficult to respect those that do not respect us as American citizens. For we are the people of the United States, by which they are hired to support, defend, protect our life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, our justice, and the truth given to us by the laws of nature and nature's God. So on that basis, I want to reiterate some points that I have discussed in previous videos. But I want to just nail it down again and again and again and again. The reason I'm doing that is because government, for the most part, they create the problem. And then they want to lay the burden of what they've created on the American citizens. They want to penalize you for it. So with that in mind, I want to direct your attention to two fundamental aspects of life and liberty. Two very basic fundamental aspects that the government cannot get right. And in doing so, they've created their own nemesis. The first is they can't get your birth date right. And by that I mean, and those of you that have listened to my previous videos, you understand the context of that. But I can prove scientifically and biologically that the government has not calculated our birth dates correctly. And in order to calculate your birth date correctly, you have to embrace the laws of nature in order to do so. And the laws of nature, dictated by nature's God, tells us that life begins, or should I say, another human life begins at conception. When the sperm connects with the female egg, the male sperm connects with the female egg, and as long as there's not a discrepancy there, it begins to multiply, cell upon cell. 2 cells become 4, 4 become 8, 8 becomes 16, because cells are the basic building blocks of life, not death. Get that? Cells are the basic building blocks of life. And so when a man's sperm connects with a woman's egg, another life form, and that being human life, begins the process of its first phase of development in a 9-month time frame. And during that 9-month time frame, as those cells are maturing, building, accumulating, coming together, forming that human life, in that time frame of 9 months, you have what is known as your actual, not theoretical, not political, your actual birth date. Sometimes there are exceptions where a birth will occur beyond the 9-month time frame, but in its normal capacity, or its normal time frame, I should say, a birth will occur, the baby will come forth from the mother's womb in that 9-month time frame. And that is when you actually have your first birthday. That is your birthday. Not 12 months, not 24 months. We'll discuss that in a minute. But in that 9-month time frame, you have your first birthday. 12 months later, you celebrate the first anniversary of your first birthday, which makes you, in actuality, about 21 months old. You've got 9 months for the first phase of development, another year of development, and that when that birthday arises and comes around, you celebrate the first anniversary of your actual birthday. The same thing happens with a marriage. There is an actual wedding day, an actual day when the two exchange vows and become husband and wife. 1 year later, they celebrate the first anniversary of their wedding day that took place a year prior. You get that? It's very simple mathematics, and scientifically sound, biologically sound. But the government cannot get your birthday right. They begin to calculate from your first anniversary rather than your actual birth date. Because as I said, if you calculate from your actual birth date and then add the 12 months on top of that, you're 21 months old. But they say you're not. But in actuality, you are. So if they can't get a basic fundamental birthday right, you think we can trust them with our money, with our liberty, with our life, with our pursuit of happiness, with justice, with truth? I doubt it. In fact, you can't. Second of all, I want to talk about this color syndrome that they've created. There was a time when black, white, yellow, brown, red were just colors. They were just colors that came out of a palette or a crayon box, what I call the Crayola crayon syndrome. They were just colors in a box. But for some reason, for some twisted, demented reason, the government decided we're going to classify people according to crayon colors. Now, of all the years that I've been on Earth, I've never discovered a precedence where anyone had their origin out of a Crayola crayon box. But yet they want to call people white, black, brown, yellow, red. Really? Well, even when I was a kid, and you take the crayons out of the crayon box and you color what is classified today as a white person, I never chose a white crayon, and I don't think you did either. We chose a peach crayon to represent a white person. Remember those days? But the government, because they like to cut corners and because they like to set their own agenda and because they're incompetent, they decided that we're going to begin to take Crayola crayon colors and we're going to make it applicable to races. So all of a sudden, the race of those people that were darker-skinned, became black people. The races that were a lighter skin, or what they call white, became white people. And then the Indians, or the first natives here on this continent, they call them the red man. And then we've got the Mexicans from Mexico, they become the brown. And then the Orientals became the yellow crayon color. But that's not who you are. I challenge you to find your origin in a Crayola crayon box. In fact, I would bet anyone, I would bet the richest person in the world, the most wealthiest person in the world, all of their riches, I would bet them to prove to me that they came out of a Crayola crayon box. If they can do that, well, I just went bankrupt. But if they can't, I just took their wealth over, okay? Find out who you are, because once again, this is government creating a problem. All of a sudden, this racial divide began to take place between black and white, red and white, brown and white, yellow and white. Are you serious? That is the most stupid, incompetent, reprehensible, perverted, well, just plain stupid plan that I've ever heard of. Let's just call people colors from the crayon box. That'll solve the problem. Well, it hasn't, because now it's got to such a place that what was called Black Friday is now racial because of the word black. Well, if you call it White Friday, it's still going to be racial because that's white supremacy. Oh my God, and these are the people that's running our country. No wonder it's upside down, inside out, and turned every which way. Where did you come from? You have an ancestry. If you don't know where you come from, get on Ancestry.com and begin to type in information and find out where you came from. You will find out rather quickly that you did not come or originate from a Crayola crayon box. It don't happen. It don't exist. I guarantee you, this black-white issue of racism, as they call it, which is a bunch of hogwash, it's a bunch of bullshit, would be instantly resolved if people could stand up and say, well, I traced my ancestry back to Nigeria, South Africa, Kenya, Germany, Scotland, Ireland, France, Italy. You understand where I'm going with this? I can trace my ancestry back to the native, indigenous, how do you pronounce that word? Indigenous people, something like that. Sorry if I didn't pronounce that right. Instead of red, black, brown. You understand what I mean? Because we all came from an ancestry somewhere, a tribe, a tongue, a people, specific, not a crayon box. But like I said, the government's created this problem, and because they created the problem, they don't know how to solve it. So they just keep compounding the problem. This is not a racial issue, especially based on Crayola crayon colors. This is a cultural problem. People don't understand people's culture and where their ancestry had its origin and what causes them to think the way they do and act the way they do. These things must be understood. You can't understand a black crayon color. You can't understand a brown crayon color or a white crayon color. You can't do it because there's nothing to understand. It's just a color. But we are all one race. Many cultures, but one race. It's called the human race. The human race. And on that spectrum of humanity, there are various shades of color, but we're all colorful people of human beings on the spectrum of humanity. That is so simple. And you would think that educated politicians who's graduated from Yale, Harvard, Cambridge, some of the most prestigious universities on the planet would understand this, but they don't because they're not taught the laws of nature in law school. And many of them completely have wiped out any conscious thought of nature's God. Well, good luck. You'll continue to be stupid You know, a man said it like this one time, and I'll let you tell me who said it. He said, "Stupid is as stupid does." Hey, until next time, God bless and be a true American.